Everyone, Elizabeth Copeland here, Pro Trader at Verified Investing. And today, we'll talk a little bit about currencies with you. So we're going to talk about the DXY, USD, JPY, pound versus USD, and then USD Canadian dollar. So all those things we will talk about today, go over some charts with you, look at some analysis, and see where some of these stocks could be heading. We could get some bounces, some reversals, some pullbacks. We're going to talk about it all. All right. So just like every time, we're going to look at the wider scale first for some long-term traders, and then a closer scale in the daily. This is the weekly of the DXY, topping out just more recently of the 0102. This was July of 01, March of 02, right around 120. Closest we got was September of 2022, right around 114, and have ever so slightly been kind of stepping down from that. Our recent most high pivot was right around January of 2025, so nearly a year ago. And then we're making these much lower lows down here. So this trend where we were starting to make lower lows rebounded, did make a lower high here and a lower low, but rebounded nicely. And now we're kind of stuck in this pattern right around here. It's trading right around $96 to $97 more recently at these latest pivot lows from July of 2025, September 2025, then January of this year, and then 1 month later, right around those lows. But look at this trend line I have. This is the weekly. This is kind of an upsloping, almost megaphone, not necessarily megaphone pattern. It need to be a little bit wider for that. But it is a wedge pattern. So what we typically look for a wedge pattern is how many times it has bounced and touched, how frequently within those touches it occurs, and then what we could see on a break, either touching here on this upsloping trend line and a pullback down, or breaking this trend line. Remember, upsloping trend lines typically have more pullback potential, again, probability based here. And these upsloping trend lines at the bottom, more likely to break, especially after this many touches. This is the weekly. We kind of broke through. I'd count that as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then kind of jumping around here now. So right here, you could have expected to break down. Didn't though, rebounded. But right here, we've got a lot more, almost a bear flag on top of hitting this trend line. So a breakdown is possible, even with this weekly bottoming tail at 95.49. So let's look at the daily. Let's see what's happening a little bit closer in this time frame, right? So we have these areas of this upsloping trend line. This is the latest hit right here in January 2026. Same trend line from the weekly. This has not changed. We've been falling consistently since this high of January 2025. And what I expect to happen here, and what the most long-term play I like, would be a break of this upsloping trend line and a retrace. So I'll kind of play that out for you. So let's say it breaks with some authority, confirms below this trend line. Don't get faked out. Don't start longing at this trend line, because look what happened here. It's like, oh, it broke. Let's go ahead and chase that trend. Well, it was right against you a good bit too. So if you try to play that fake breakout here, you're out of the money like 4 or 5% on that. So what I like to do is wait for a confirmed breakout. So you need one more candle below, and then a retrace right back up. Grab the trend line instead there, right back up to this trend line with a reversal down. So this would be the area that I would like to see the next reversal on as a more conservative trader myself. So that would be an interesting level to see some more downside. Now, if you're looking for maybe a more of a play where you think that this is going to go up, I do like this pivot low. Now, granted, this does break that trend line, so you got to be very careful here. I'd have a hard stop if I myself was trying to be aggressive, a hard stop below that, because we've got some downside, especially when you break that trend line. Let's go back here to some previous lows. I mean, we've got a pivot here as low as right here. I mean, they do have lots of support levels down, and even I like this level right here, right through some of those pivot highs and pivot lows. But I mean, yes, you've got some support down here, but if it breaks that and you've over allocated those funds to this trade, you could get, again, be out 3-4% pretty easily with a strong breakdown of that trend line. So just depends on what this does over the next few days. But those will be some levels to either find some more downside or try to couch that support for the DXY. So really depends on what kind of trader you are. Try to give conservative and aggressive levels. I myself, a little bit more conservative trader, but hey, everyone's got their style, right? Whatever works for you. All right, let's go over to the next chart, which is the USD JPY. So the US dollar to the yen. Look at this big drop here. Wow. And one day, 3% move down. It's not unheard of. We had it back just in January. But let's zoom out to the weekly. Let's see what the overall trend has been. We've got this topping tail here. Actually, it's a pretty nice one. At 161.952 is the high there at that topping tail. I do like that. Now, here's something to look at as well. This is not actually a reversal indicator, because look what happens right here. You would think, oh, maybe there's a head and shoulders pattern. Well, technically it's close. It's very close, but I don't like that this pivot low has pierced that and then bounce. That doesn't mean that it can't flush through this line. Actually, these are some nice pivot lows where it has hit. I'll make that a little bigger for you, where it has hit once, twice, 3 times. So there does favor a down to the a move to the downside if another hit occurs. But if this drags out and doesn't come back to this trend line, again, time reinforces these things. We will be less likely to see a break of this line right here, right around the 140, 141 mark. So just be careful on that. That's the first thing that kind of popped out to me, but I did make sure that that was a little bit lower. And of course, this is lower to be more technically downsloping. So just be careful of that. I guess technically you could call this a shoulder, this a head, and maybe this a wonky shoulder. It just depends, though, on how wonky you want to get with some of these head and shoulders patterns. But you can see here, it's actually trading near some of the highs recently. So right around 161, again, 9 is that high from back in July of 2024, has trended down, made higher highs since this pivot, but now has rolled over a little bit there. So if you're on a long-term hold, it's hard for me to buy it at the tops of charts. I mean, if you want to be really aggressive with it, 152, but I do really like this level right here at 147. You can see a nice little reversal there and a push up after some consolidation. So you can expect, even at that pivot low, some of the sellers to think, oh man, we've got a chance to really see some reversal here. And it didn't. It actually went up from that level about 9%. So this area of 146 to about 147, that's a very interesting level for a reversal for me. A little bit lower. I do like these pivots, but again, be very careful. It's already hit 3 times. And so the favor for a downside move does exist. So aggressive traders, this might be your level if it gets down here. I know obviously this is a more long-term hold, but any kind of confirmation below this, weekly confirmation below this, does break your thesis. Now, let's look at the daily trend. Again, we've got this nice big red candle bar. My theory still stands where it's still very hard for me to buy at some of these levels. So what I really like actually is a retrace to this wide range red bar candle right here for a reversal. So it is fallen, kind of sticking around this level today around 156. But if it can pop back up to like 160 level, and I'm talking like a nice pop up, not a move up where it kind of sits right here, because this does favor a move to the upside, right? But if you see something more along this line right here, where we've got some, ups and downs, it's not going to go straight up there, but something like this, I like that play for a reversal there on the USD JPY, right? So we do have this really nice solid area of resistance right there at 160 level, 164 really. And then you've got, right, there we go. There's the pivot right above that, the 161 level, this previous pivot. I really like that as well. Those are those highs. So you got 2 areas of resistance there I would like to play on USD JPY. All right. So those are those 2. Now let's go on to our next chart. This is the pound and USD. So we talked about the yen US dollar. So now let's talk about the pound USD, which is also a very interesting chart. Let's start with the weekly actually. So on the weekly, if we zoom out here, for a couple of years, we've had a nice downtrend, actually kind of looking, just eyeballing it here, even from kind of early on. We had this downsloping trend line here. And I mean, even bringing it down just slightly to touch that pivot high, which would make it a little bit more of a conservative level up here. I do like this pop up. That does signal reversal, but again, it's been hit once, twice, 3, but that's since, 73, right? 80, and then 08. So this is a pretty strong trend line. If it gets back up here, a breakout, but I would expect more reversal here, even though it technically would be like the 4th hit of this. The time reinforcement of this is just wild. So I do like this as a strong trend line. Obviously, a break above and confirmation over would be a way to get out of that trade, and your thesis would be broken. But I do like that for a nice trend line. And then you have just pivot low from 85, right, to 2022. that would be a very, very strong buy for some very long-term holders if it did get down there, even a little higher, around $1, 1.0843, I guess is that nice little spot there. So interesting levels for some long-term trades. Now let's look at some shorter-term trades. Let's look at the daily trend actually, because I do have some lines here. This pivot high from September 2024 was a nice pivot high, a big run up, right? Fell quite a bit from those pivots, down about 10% before a very nice reversal back up to pivot highs in July of 2025. So this is a big downtrend, a big uptrend, right? So I do like that as a pivot high. That would bring price, I mean, way up here to 1.417. Which is a big move from where it is now, basically 4%, right? So a 4% move is not unheard of with some of these pivots on this currency exchange. But then we also have, if you look at this recent high, kind of a pivot through there. Yes, it did break out, kind of fell through, acted as support again. Let's just call this a fake out. And then it comes up here. I like this level as well for much more. Again, these are two conservative levels, right around 139. Now, that pivot high and this, again, large range red bar candle, both very good areas of resistance if we can get a pop up here over the next few days as well, which yesterday, I mean, look at that, a 1% move. We just need, one or two more of those days to get back up here. So that's not out of the realm of possibilities, right? So 1.38 and then 1.37, both great areas of resistance. And just above that, this is why I like these trend lines right here. You do have another conservative level of 1.349. All right, so that's the pound and USD. It looks like the USD and the Canadian dollar. This is another interesting one. I'll just go over the daily here because we're running out of time. 1, 2, 3 hits of that pivot top, a trend line that runs through here. What I like to see is another retrace this line for a downside, and then you've got some more downside to go as well at these. This is actually a much closer term bounce potential right here at this pivot low. That's a nice pivot low. Look at that rebound there where sellers stopped and buyers stepped in. I like that for another bounce, even though it's been kissed here. I do like that for a support level on the near term, 1.348. And then again, you can find some resistance, right? Depending on where it hits, right around 1.4. All right. So we've run a little long. Thank you so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed some of that currency analysis. If you have any questions, definitely list them below. And I would love to help. Have a great weekend, everybody.